I saw John Harbaugh say something that really concerned me, and it's the main reason why I can't pick the Ravens to make it to the Super Bowl this year. This Ravens coaching staff is holding back Lamar Jackson. Why? Look at what John Harbaugh just said about getting Derrick Henry. He said they didn't get Derrick Henry to give him 30 carries a game. So if you didn't get Derrick Henry to wear down defenses, then what was the use of signing him for? If you're just going to give King Henry 10 touches, you might as well have just re-signed Dalvin Cook in free agency if that was the point. Because what has made Derrick Henry one of the best running backs in the NFL over the past decade is that this dude is a freight train. He wears you down over the course of the game. From the first quarter to the fourth quarter, your defense gets tired of tackling this monster of a man. And you're doing yourself a disservice when you only give somebody like Derrick Henry 10 touches because he's not wearing out the defense. And this is why I feel the Ravens coaching staff is holding back Lamar Jackson, because it seems like they don't have any idea of how to maximize the talent that they have with LJ and to give LJ a good enough coaching staff to help take Baltimore to the Super Bowl. The main reason why John Harbaugh still has a job is because Lamar Jackson saved him from getting fired his rookie season. Before Lamar Jackson took over as QB1 in Baltimore, John Harbaugh was on the hot seat. Yeah, he won the Super Bowl. He beat his brother. But outside of that, they had a lot of disappointing seasons when they didn't do much in the postseason or they didn't make it to the playoffs at all. So John Harbaugh's job definitely was on the line until Lamar Jackson came in and saved them. And if it wasn't for Lamar, John Harbaugh probably wouldn't be the head coach of the Baltimore Ravens right now, which is why Lamar Jackson deserves better. He deserves a coaching staff that isn't going to overly rely on him to win games. Like, what's the point of giving Derrick Henry 30 carries? What's the point of giving Derrick Henry only 10 carries, but you're going to make Lamar Jackson your leading rusher? Make this make sense to me. Why is Lamar Jackson running the football more than Derrick Henry? Lamar should only be running the football when he has to. When you got a tank like Derrick Henry in the backfield, there's no need to have to run Lamar 15, 20 plus times a game. This coaching staff continues to confuse me because once again, they're holding back Lamar Jackson because you get this talented running back in Derrick Henry who's going to be a future Hall of Famer. He's going to get a gold jacket, but you're not going to utilize him to his full capabilities. You're only going to give him 10 carries a game? What kind of sense does that make? What has made Derrick Henry so great is that you get tired of tackling that 250-pound monster every play for 4 quarters. And you kind of take away his effectiveness when you sparingly use him in short yardage situations. He should be the RB1 for the majority of drives that the Ravens offense is on the field. We shouldn't see Justice Hill on the last play of the game blocking Chris Jones. What kind of sense does that make? I was surprised that Justice Hill was even able to put a block on Chris Jones or at least keep him from getting to Lamar. Shout out to him and shout out to the effort. But that just shows you the lack of good coaching that Lamar Jackson has to deal with down in Baltimore. In the last play of the game against Kansas City, Justice Hill is blocking Chris Jones. What kind of sense does that make? And you mean to tell me that this coaching staff isn't the problem? Look what they did in the AFC Conference Championship. They only gave the ball to the running backs 5 times combined in that game. That's unacceptable. The offensive line is crappy. Whose fault is that? The coaching. You can't put all of the Ravens' shortcomings on LJ when this coaching staff is more responsible of Baltimore's inability to get to the Super Bowl and raise up that Lombardi than what Lamar Jackson is, because he's getting held back by a coaching staff that continues to underutilize their personnel. You sign Derrick Henry. You don't want to run him 30 times a game. You don't want to run him 20 times a game. You only want to give him 8-10 carries throughout the game. What kind of sense does that make? Derrick Henry still has a lot of juice left in the tank. He's a Hall of Fame caliber level. You have to ignore. He's a Hall of Fame caliber player. You have to ignore his age. Just because he's 30 doesn't mean that he's washed up. Hall of Fame level players regress at a slower rate than your average player. If you got a running back like Ezekiel Elliott that's up there in age, then yeah. Because he's not a Hall of Fame caliber player. But Hall of Fame caliber players can play at a higher level for a lot longer than the others at their position. That's what makes them future gold jacket players. Because they're better than the majority of the other players at their position. That's what separates them. That's what makes them special. They got more longevity. They can play more years in their prime than what you normally see out of guys at their position. And for Derrick Henry, even though he's 30 years old, he still has at least 1 or 2 prime seasons left, despite being 30 years of age, something that you don't see out of most running backs. When most running backs get to 30, their play starts to decline. But for Derrick Henry, with him being a Hall of Fame level player, his decline isn't going to come until he gets to 33 years old, because he still has a few more years of high-level play left in the tank. So for Baltimore, I just hope after this season, they either part ways with John Harbaugh or this dude just retires, because I don't think Lamar Jackson is ever going to win a Super Bowl with John Harbaugh as his head coach, man. The fact that he came out and made these comments, we didn't get Derrick Henry to give him 30 touches a game, makes no sense to me. Because that is what makes Derrick Henry so special. And this is why Lamar Jackson can't get over the hump. Andy Reid is an all-time great head coach. John Harbaugh is a good coach, but he's no Andy Reid. And if you want to make it further in the playoffs, you need to have a head coach that knows how to get the most out of the players on his team. John Harbaugh doesn't seem to be able to do that.